If you're looking for a tactical RPG where you get the chance to create your own heroes, engage in fun battles, and have your choices really matter, then I think Wildermyth should be on your radar. Hello you gorgeous human being of the world, it's Miss Bubbles, welcome to the video. I hope you're doing alright. Today I'm sharing with you 5 reasons why I think you need to try Wildermyth today. Let me know if you end up getting it or if you already heard about it. I love talking to you guys in the comment section. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, Wildermyth is a tabletop adventure with a great focus on storytelling where you are in charge of your heroes. Basically, you start the game with a 3-chapter story where you get to introduce to everything that you will be doing in the game. When you start, you select your 3 starting characters, and right off the bat, you can see how different your playthrough might be from other gamers. Your characters look differently, they have different stories and backgrounds, stats, and personalities. For example, they can be compassionate, intellectual, romantic, a loner. They can have different points allocated to their attack damage and HP, and as far as their stories go, some of them might have had their own role model parents, some of them come from a poor background, and so much more. There are just so many different combinations that you can have here, it's insane. You also get to choose their class build between warrior, mystic, and hunter, and these class builds will surely progress as you progress with your own story, and you get extra abilities for every character to cater how you want them to fight. Like for example, your warrior can then become specialized as a guardian, and your hunter can go the melee rogue route, to name a few of the combinations here as well. You also get to choose their names and how they look like. Again, there's just so many different combinations that you can choose from, and it really makes the game cater to your playthrough session. Now for me and how I choose to experience this game, I always let it pick my characters for me. I just make sure that I read their story, check their stats a little bit so I can start preparing what kind of character I want them to be. As I said, the first story has 3 chapters to teach you gameplay mechanics, so it's kind of like a tutorial, and it blew me away. The moment you start, you see this kind of storytelling book where your characters instantly begin engaging with each other. They have their own assumptions about each other, and it's so amazing to see everything unfold. Not only that, but you also start to take responsibility for some of the choices that the characters are going to make. For example, one of the earliest choices that I had to make was concerning one of my female characters, and I was asked to choose between 3 options with another character, and that let me either go with a romance, friendship, or rivalry with them. I must admit though, the names here can be a little bit difficult to pronounce, but again, I just let the game do its own thing, and it was very funny. Like, I think one of my characters was called Yulia or Hyula. I have no idea how to say their names, but it's all part of the fun. Anyways, when I chose the romance route, I really didn't think much about it. I did check her relationship status, and I saw that she has a sweetheart, and with that there was a bonus trait that whenever her sweetheart get hit by an enemy, she would get an extra 3 damage on any enemy in the battlefield. But soon after, I reached the 2nd chapter and I realized that she actually got married to that character, and by the 3rd chapter they had their own daughter, and their daughter ended up joining our party. This is really how all the choices guide the story. Sometimes you have no idea how any choice is gonna go and what the consequences will be. Another example would be like in one of the chapters, I chose to approach a certain something, and my hero was left with a scar that set her apart from the rest of the characters. She then kept referring back to how the scar really impacted her emotionally, and I realized like, wow, this has meaning. You know, what I did really impacted her and how everybody else saw her. And not only that, again, like everybody was aware of the consequences that my choices had. So the characters realize the changes that happen and they speak about it rather than not. Because you know, in so many games that we play, especially like open world ones, let's say, there would be really just a war going on and nobody really notices. I don't know if you've noticed, like let me know in the comment section, but there would be a war going on and the NPCs act like nothing is happening, and I think that's so unnatural in the game. Here they make sure that your choices are going to show and they're gonna shine. You're gonna have to deal with any moral consequences that you will be feeling after your choices are made. And this really ties to you really thinking about anything that you're gonna do. So here, yes, everything has a consequence and you are the captain of your story. So you really need to think like, hey, do I want to build that bridge? Do I want to retreat? Do I want to risk my hero's life in a fight that might be too tough in the end? Do I want to risk them even dying? You can even also decide, do I want to recruit a certain person or not? And speaking of that, you recruit different people with, again, their own stories and their own stat, their own name, their their own everything and whatnot, and they all happen to stumble across your heroes in a unique way. So like even the way they stumble upon your party and how they learn about it is also procedurally generated, and it's so fun to experience all the different options that you can get here. Moving on to the chapters themselves, you will be moving from one to the other, and between these there will be a summary because sometimes there can be a decade between a chapter and another, and you will learn a lot of things about your heroes. For example, some of them will deal with different challenges, some of them will have kids, others will have diseases, and some you will see them age. And it's so beautiful to see because you literally see the changes in them physically as well, because they can get wrinkles on their face or they will get gray hair, and it really shows so much attention to detail and how the story is going to be. Not only that, like even some of them might have a crush on somebody else now, or they might have different stats because, you know, they got older, their back hurts now. So it's again very fascinating to see how these stories unfold. Now, to progress the chapters, you have certain objectives to complete. Some of them can be timed as well, so there is a factor of time management in here that you have to be aware of. And after you finish the first story, you have plenty of other campaigns to join, and every one of them brings you a new story with new characters, or you can choose to bring one of your older heroes that you've played with before. And let me tell you, with this, at first you will start and be like, oh, I don't really care about these characters, like who are they? They don't really matter to me. But you will slowly and surely get attached to them. The way storytelling is done here is amazing, and you will surely be like, no, I love this character, why did they have to die? Or no, like what happened to this, or what happened to that? Or oh, like they got married and I'm so happy. You will be emotionally invested in everything that they do, and that is something that I've been looking for in a game for a really long time. Now, besides the excellent storytelling that you can find here, yes you can please squish the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying this video so I can keep making more. Thank you very much. Let's continue. On a serious note though, let's talk about the combat system here. This is again a tactical RPG where you take part in turn-based battles and you have different class builds and skills to assist you on your journey. And the fun part of it all is that the combat field can literally be your playground. Now there is a lot of intricate details, so let me try and make you get a small picture of what you can expect in here, and then you can choose if this is the game for you. Now once you enter a fight, there will be a tabletop kind of thing going. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, and it will be generated in front of you, and then you can start your fight. Then after that, your characters will appear and some or maybe all enemies will show up. You get to move your characters tile by tile, and sometimes the closer you get in, the more enemies will be revealed for you. I recommend that you keep your heroes close to each other, and that way you can get the adjacent privilege that can let you sometimes block or even fight off enemies when it's not even your turn. Now each character can, depending on the class that they have, choose to strike, move, skip a turn, or more. For example, your hunter can throw poisonous like bombs at the enemy, or they can just use their bow and shoot them instead. Or your warrior can strike or stand as a guard to block attacks. However, your mystic can use something called interfuse, and it is a very cool mechanic. Do you remember when I was saying that the battlefield can become your playground? Well, I was actually talking about the interfuse skill. This one lets you take advantage of objects around you and take it to your own advantage. Let's say there is a campfire. You can let your hero interfuse with it, light it up, and then when it's on, you can steal fire from it and deal fire damage to an enemy nearby. Or you can go ahead and interfuse with a tree or a shrub, hit the enemy, and then this will make them be pinned down, and then you can also make them move to another tile, making you in charge of where you want them to be next. There is just so many possibilities with the skill, and it made me always kind of go with the mystic because I really love that class build, and if you love magic, I think you're gonna love it. You can also take cover behind objects. Some provide full cover while others will provide you with a partial one. Once you clear all enemies, escape, or simply finish the objective that you had, your heroes will gain experience points until they level up. Once they do, you choose what abilities and skills you want them to invest in. For example, you can choose passive skills like Bard, which lets you get +5 stun chance for everybody in your party, or you can go with Hardiness, which grants you extra health. There are really so many abilities for you to choose from, so I will let you discover them yourself if you decide to get this game. You also get gear with different stats, and you choose which of your heroes you want them to get next, or you can scrap them to get some extra materials. Now, the more enemies you defeat, the stronger and the smarter they will get, so you kind of have to be aware of that. Another thing that you need need to manage is that everything you do consumes days. So the more days pass by, for example, in the first story, the closer you will get to incursions or calamities. Incursions, for instance, make hordes of enemies show up on your map, and they start to move from town to town and destroy everything. And the problem is, if they destroy everything, it's game over for you. So you kind of have to be aware of that. And this is where really your decision making is very important. Do you want to go and finish your main story objective, or are you gonna stop, go to the incursion, make sure you get rid of it, and then carry on with your story? There's just so many things that we can talk about here. The game is insanely detailed, so I will tell you about a few more. So actually, in some of the battles, you end up getting yourself a pet, and this pet can help you in battles. There are stone spirits that you can capture, and these grant you extra abilities. There are legacy points, which you can use for recruiting people and other things. There are gear pieces to acquire and the ability to gather materials to upgrade your armor and more. I will say one thing though about the armor and the gear, there isn't a lot here, so that rhymed as always. What's new? But there is actually a lot of mods that you can use from the Steam workshop, so I love that the developers are welcoming these mods. So for example, there are some romance events, you can get more gear, more hairstyles, more customizability options, and still, again, you can cater this game to whichever way that you want it to be. And finally, keep in mind that this game offers multiplayer if you want to play with your friends. I went solo. I play a lot of games solo unless it's like Fortnite or something else, but I really like these games to be played alone. However, I did check some reviews and I can safely say that multiplayer is a really good way to play as well. Now let's move on to the gorgeous and beautiful world that is presented here. The game is set in Yondering Lands. It's a lush world populated with 2D characters. The environments and the characters are all hand painted, and really, they all look like they come from a fairy tale storybook. So you basically start with the overall map in which your story takes place, and you begin with one that is not really open and everything is in a tile form. Then as you send your heroes to scout new areas, build bridges, construct workstations and more, you get to see towns and, for example, forests where you can battle enemies. Even with the 2D style represented here and with the fact that you are moving from tile to tile, there is some kind of richness in here to the world that I really loved and I really appreciated. You will see, for example, some ancient ruins, some creepy libraries, and large forests, to name a few. And then when it comes to you reading through the story, the comic format is full of character expression, rich environments, and unique art style. And the menu itself has a rustic look, which I really enjoyed. And I want to say one more thing, the music. Oh my god, the music goodness in here, it's legendary. I freaking loved it. This is just a beautiful and wonderful medieval fantasy RPG that is just waiting to indulge all of your senses. What? You get my point. Now it's time to talk about difficulty levels, replayability, and death. And I will start by talking about the biggest issue that I think might stop some of you from playing it, and it has a solution. If you are worried about difficulty levels and you don't want to play this game because it is a tactical RPG, I assure you there are so many difficulty levels for you to choose from. It's really easy for you to get into it. You can choose between storyteller, adventure, tragic hero, walking lunch, and custom. So really, you decide how you want this game to be. Moving on to the death part, let's say that one of your heroes lost their health, and I'm so sad to say that this happened to me more than once. You can choose to let them retreat the first time, and if you do that, the next time it's a sure they will die. Or you can let them die right away, making a name for themselves, and also maybe even granting everybody in the party a chance to get a critical strike and win. After your hero is dead, you can choose if you want them to be part of your legacy or not by either burying them or sending them back to their family. This is a very important decision for you to make. If you want to see this hero come back to life in different stories, then you need to be careful with what you're gonna do. And this leads me to say that this game offers so much replayability value for the price it's at. Many AAA single-player games charge us for $60 or more, and we barely get 10 hours of gameplay. This right here gives you the choice of how much you want to play and how many stories you want to create. Now moving on to the big decision, is this game for you? As always, we're gonna go with this game is for you if, it's not for you if, and then my personal verdict. This game is for you if you have been looking for a story-driven tactical RPG where your choices matter. It's also for you if you love to be invested in your characters and see them develop right before your eyes. It's for you if you're looking for a game that is truly a breath of fresh air in this genre. It's for you if you're tired of super long RPGs but still want to get a shorter experience, having the different stories with the respective chapters and allowing yourself to enjoy a shorter form of an RPG. But to contradict that, it's also for you if you want to play through lots of campaigns and spend a lot of time on a single game. It is definitely for you if you love a combat system that encourages you to make use of everything around you and be strategic about it. And it's for you if you're like me and you're new to the tactical RPG genre and you're kind of scared. This is just the perfect one for you because it will give you the opportunity to play with the difficulty levels and cater the experience to yourself. However, this game is not for you if, of course, you're looking for a long ass story to enjoy, like let's say Divinity Original Sin 2. No, you're not gonna get that here, let's be clear about that. It's not for you if you hate seeing your characters die and only come back at a different campaign, and it's definitely not for you if you feel pressured by things like a ticking time, where the more days pass by, the more enemies will attack and the more difficult things might get. As for my experience with this game, it was actually very fun. It exceeded all of my expectations. I had no idea if I can actually understand how to play this one. I thought it would just be me struggling the whole time. However, the way this game is designed, it makes you cherish your time with your heroes, it makes you care for them and the world around you. I mean, I even found myself so many times just sparing some characters, being like, no, please just stay here or scout this area instead. Don't go into a battle if I felt like they might sacrifice their life and die. I was so invested in everybody's story. I really love to see people get married or get crushes or have babies and then have their kids join me in the party. It was just a really beautiful experience. You know, just not knowing how a story might go really intrigues you, I'm not gonna lie. Really, you never know what might happen, what relationship might flourish, what disaster or disease might put everyone at risk, and this is what made Wildermyth a really beautiful game for me. If you enjoyed this video, click on this playlist because I have a lot more games that will definitely interest you. Thank you for my bubbly Patreons for making videos like this one happen, and a shout out to Justin and Faye for going the extra mile. If you want to become a bubbly Patreon yourself, make sure to check my description box. You can have your name here with everybody and you will have my forever appreciation, and you will also get a lot more perks as well. As always, stay bubbly, stay positive, and I will see your gorgeous self in the next one. Bye!